Welcome to the College Sports Corner, the show where we talk about anything and everything in the world of college athletics. I'm your host, Isaac Ray, and with me as always, the talented pair of Hannah McCravey and Kahlil Dixon. It was a busy weekend in college athletics with even more to come this weekend, so let's get right into it with our performers of the week for Week 10 in college football. Who was that for you, Kahlil?
Well, I'm switching it up this weekend. Instead of Jalen Hurts like I normally would pick, I'm going with Nick Fitzgerald, the quarterback out of Mississippi State. He had 119 rushing yards for 2 touchdowns and 417 passing yards for 5 touchdowns. And that was a 56-41 win over Sanford.
Yeah, a little Bulldog and Bulldog crime, but he absolutely balled out, and you got to respect that. What about you, Hannah?
You know, I'm going to have to go with Jalen Hurts. Win or lose, he gets the job done. He went 19 for 26 with passing, and then he had 4 touchdowns total. So
yeah, absolutely.
He's still doing his thing.
He balled out. They took the L, but you can't really put that on him, although I'm sure he'll be the first guy to take the blame for that loss.
Right.
For me, I went searching in the MAC, a little bit of MACtion. I went with Brian Koback, running back out of Toledo. He was a workhorse that day, 2 touchdowns, 259 yards on 35 carries. I mean, that guy absolutely hauled. 8.1 yards per carry in a 37-34 win over Eastern Michigan. I mean, that's a lot of carries for a running back to have. He put the team on the back, and you got to respect that. So he's definitely my player of the week out of the MAC.
Mm-hmm.
One shocking performance of the year came out of Manhattan this weekend, Manhattan, Kansas, that is, as the Kansas State Wildcats shocked the college football world, upsetting the then undefeated and number 5 Oklahoma Sooners by a final of 48-41. This certainly gives a shakeup to the chase for the college football playoff, but who benefited most from Oklahoma's loss? Hannah?
I'm going to have to go with Oregon. They made the biggest jump in the AP poll from number 11 to number 7, and they should remain undefeated for the rest of the season in the Pac-12.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Kahlil?
I'm going to go with Penn State. I know that they're number 5 now after this loss, and they're undefeated, and the next team after them they have 1 loss. And so with Oklahoma being out with 1 loss, which is going to make it an easier road for Penn State to probably make their way into the playoffs.
Yeah. For me, I went with whoever is the loser of LSU, Alabama, or Ohio State, Penn State. It's been shown in the past, it's been done by Ohio State and Alabama, that you don't have to win your conference or even your division and still get in. Both of those schools, LSU is number 1 in strength of schedule, Penn State is number 2 in strength of schedule. So I feel like if either one of those teams loses, or they have the best chance and the best resume out of all the 1-loss teams to get in, possibly even over a 1-loss Big 12 champion in Oklahoma, just because the loss would simply look better if it came against an Alabama or an Ohio State, which is what's being projected right now. But one thing I think a lot of people aren't looking at is in the Big 12 right now, there's still an undefeated team. You still have Baylor, who's sitting undefeated. They still have to play Texas and Oklahoma. But do you guys think that Baylor could sneak into the college football playoff and run the table in the Big 12?
I don't know about Baylor. I mean, I definitely think it'll be a stretch if they do, I think. I don't know if I don't think they'll actually get into the playoffs. But, I mean, they're doing great this season, but I don't know if I think they'll do good enough to get in.
Yeah, what about you, Hannah?
I feel the same way. I just feel like their schedule still isn't strong enough to beat the other top teams.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they still have to play Texas and Oklahoma. They haven't really played the big hitters in the Big 12 yet. Obviously, Texas and Oklahoma are the benchmarks in that conference. And I think if they win those games and they win the Big 12 and are undefeated, you can't keep them out. But I think there's a long way for them to go to show me that they deserve, that they belong in the conversation of being top teams of the country, because you still have to play the 2 best teams in your conference still. So I think right now, no. Maybe come December, if they have a Big 12 title, if they're undefeated, I think it will be hard to keep them out. But that's something we're going to have to keep our eyes on. But with that, there was so much that happened in college football this past weekend. So what was your biggest takeaway, Hannah?
Mine was that I don't think Oklahoma's going to make it to the playoffs anymore, just because they were in the top 4 and now they're number 10, and then the rest of their schedule is not going to push them any higher unless other teams that are higher than them lose.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Kahlil?
My big takeaway is it seems like all these undefeated top teams are dropping like flies.
Yeah.
I mean, the deeper we get into the season, the more teams are getting a loss by teams they probably shouldn't even be losing to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this week was the 3rd week we had a top-ranked team lose to a conference opponent. You had Georgia versus South Carolina. Last week was Illinois, Wisconsin, and now this week you had Kansas State upsetting Oklahoma. So I think one thing for me, the biggest takeaway is that you never know who you're going to lose to. And, there's so much still left in this season that I don't know if we can say we have a clear idea of what the college football playoffs going to look like. You still have Oklahoma still pushing. If they can win the Big 12 with one loss, do they get in? Do they get in over possibly a one-loss Big 10 team like an Ohio State or Penn State that still have to play each other? LSU, Alabama still have to play each other. And then you have to consider someone coming out of the SEC East. If they win the SEC, who is the committee going to take? So there's so much still left in this season that it's really going to be fun and exciting to watch as we go down to the wire. But now looking at the Week 10, the biggest game of the week has to be number 8 Georgia versus number 6 Florida. On top of this being a massive rivalry game for both schools, it has huge implications for the SEC East and potentially the college football playoff like we talked about. So, Hannah, who are you taking in this matchup?
I'm going to go with Georgia.
Okay.
They have the number 1 ranked defense, and that's exactly what they need to take down Florida.
All right, what about you, Kahlil?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia as well. I mean, that defense is going to be, tough for anybody to score on, and I don't think it'll be any different in this game, so I'm going to go with Georgia too.
Yeah, I'm going with Georgia as well, but only if their offense can figure things out. Their offensive play calling has been pedestrian at best. They need to be more creative in finding ways to get the ball into the hands of their playmakers. You can only have so many inside handoffs and screen passes before everybody knows what you're doing. So I think if they can be a little more creative on the offensive side, throw in wrinkles with their game plan, I think they will be able to do that. They've had a bye week getting in, so they have more time to prepare for this Florida defense. And then, like you guys said, the defense on Georgia has been almost impeccable this season. So I think they'll be able to hold up their end of the bargain. It's just going to be a key if Georgia's offense can match what their defense brings to the table. Furthermore, looking at Week 10, though, what was your guys' game of the week outside of Georgia and Florida? Hannah?
I have Penn State and Minnesota. They're both undefeated in the Big Ten, and with Penn State ranked number 5, it's important for them to get this one.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't, with still having to play play Ohio State rather, it's huge for them to stay undefeated up until that point. Obviously, you're going to want to beat Ohio State, but if your loss comes to Ohio State, I feel like they still have a much better chance of making it into the playoff than if their loss were to come to a Minnesota or anybody else in the Big Ten. What about you, Kahlil?
I'm going with number 15 SMU versus 24 Memphis. I think that's going to be a pretty good matchup this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my game of the week as well. In the American Conference, battling out for the West Division title. And also, I think whoever wins this makes a huge statement to making the New Year's Six bowl game, which for the American this year, the winner of that conference is going to go to the Cotton Bowl. And for SMU, a program that's been battling so hard over the past 20 years to come back from the death penalty that they suffered, they're a Dallas-based school. They're right in the heart of Dallas. If they could win this game, take a huge step towards winning the conference and then making it to the Cotton Bowl in their hometown, I think that would say so much of that program, and I think it would be a really cool story in college football. But when we come back, we'll get you all caught up in the world of Campbell athletics, along with a look at what's to come right after this.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps.
Did Pete saying mean things bother ya?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool. To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
In Campbell athletics, and we'll start with highlights from Campbell's football game against Gardner-Webb. So we'll try to pick up things in the fourth quarter. Down 14 with 2 minutes to go, Haj Malik finds Jalen Kelsey in the front corner of the end zone to bring the Camels within 7. However, Gardner-Webb will get the ball back, and with 8 seconds left, looking to punt and ice the game. But the Camels have one more surprise as walk-on Greg Streeter blocks the punt, and it is subsequently recovered by walk-on Alex Santiago, who is able to run it all the way back as time expires in the fourth quarter to bring the Camels within 1. Colin Gary was able to convert the extra point to send it to overtime at 27-27. You see Santiago here picking up the ball, tiptoeing, doing the high wire act down the sideline, and absolute euphoria on the Campbell bench. Now we pick it up in the third overtime. Jonathan Hawkins runs the ball in, bullies the defense to get in the end zone, giving the Camels a 6-point edge. Then, on the subsequent 2-point conversion, Hajj Malik Williams scrambles, sneaks past the defense, getting into the end zone to put the Camels up 49-41. But Gardner Webb would be able to answer with a touchdown. However, penalties would force the running Bulldogs back to the 18-yard line. They're looking to convert on this 2-point conversion, knocked away by Campbell's defense, and the Camels are able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat and remain undefeated in conference play and push their school record win streak to 6. Campbell will put that win streak on the line as the Camels travel to Florence, Alabama to take on the North Alabama Lions this Saturday at 2:30. Now for an update on Campbell volleyball, here's Kahlil.
Campbell women's volleyball team improved to 6-2 in the Big South Conference with a 3-set sweep of Hampton on Saturday at home. The win moved Campbell to 12-9 overall. This was Campbell's 9th sweep of the year and the 3rd against Big South opponents. Elena Heath was the only player with double-digit kills in the match with 12 kills. Sarah Cola also added 7 kills, while Layla Green, Kate Mans, and Melody Page all had 5 kills. The Camels will take on Gardner Webb on Friday at 6 p.m., followed by Winthrop on Saturday at 2 p.m. Now for an update on Campbell men's soccer, here's Isaac.
Men's soccer hosted 21st ranked North Carolina last Tuesday at Eakes Athletic Complex. The man-down Camels fought through the fog and drew the Tar Heels in double overtime. After 6 days of much-needed rest, the Camels hosted their final conference regular season game against the Longwood Lancers. The Camels ran the Lancers off the pitch on their senior night, 8-0. The team now turns to the road, taking on second-place High Point in the Camels' last conference match Saturday night. Next, Campbell will host their semifinal conference tournament game on Wednesday, November 13th at 7 p.m. Now here's Hannah with an update on women's soccer.
Women's soccer traveled to their last away conference regular season game last Wednesday when they took on the Blue Hose of Presbyterian. Playing away from home had no effect on the Camels as they kept on rolling, beating Presbyterian 4-0. Over the weekend, the Camels hosted their final conference regular season game against the Hampton Pirates. To little surprise, the Camels fought hard and defeated the Pirates 5-1. Next, the team will host their quarterfinal conference tournament game this Saturday at 7 p.m. against the Blue Hose of Presbyterian once more. Now, Kahlil, what's going on in the pool with Campbell swimming?
Well, Campbell University swimming split competition with CCSA foes Gardner Webb and Old Dominion in a tri-meet Saturday afternoon inside the Johnson Aquatic Center. With 4 individual wins and 2 relay wins, the Camels defeated Gardner Webb by a 127-point margin, 193-66, while suffering a slim 7-point setback to Old Dominion, 134-127. The Camels will have a long wait to compete again as their next meet is scheduled for a tri-meet against Barton and UNC Pembroke on Saturday, November 16th. Now to Isaac for a preview of what's to come in cross country.
Campbell's men and women's cross-country teams are preparing to host the Big South Conference Championship on this Saturday, November 2nd. The men's team is looking to repeat as conference champions for the 5th straight year as they are led by junior Amon Kemboe, who's coming off an impressive second-place finish at pre-nationals. The men's race will start at 10:30 a.m., followed by the women's race at 11:30 a.m. at Keith Hills Golf Course. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on the College Sports Corner. Make sure to leave us a like and share us, and leave a comment on what you think about today's topics. We hope to see you next week, and until then, I'm Isaac Gray.
I'm Hannah McCravey.
And I'm Kahlil Dixon.
Thanks for watching.